farm.com. He's been joining us every week. It's Dan Servodidio. Give him a follow on Twitter at Dan_Servodidio, Servodidio. What's going on, Servo? How you doing?
What's up, guys? Glad to be back with you. Yeah, we're a day away from March officially happening. So March Madness right around the corner.
Absolutely. Wow, I'm glad you looked at a calendar. Good job.
Yeah, February is one of those short months.
Rodas, you said before at the end of the month when you were talking about one of those
and
teams.
You knew what I was talking about.
I know. I just had to make sure, though, because it is the 27th of February. No,
yeah.
This year here.
How many days in February this year, Serv?
I don't think it's a leap year, is it? I don't know.
No, it's not a leap year.
See, he doesn't know.
Yeah, I got you. I got you on the calendar.
I don't keep track of that thing. Unless I was born on a leap year, I would definitely not keep track of that.
What do you do if someone is born like February 29th? When do they celebrate it? Do we know officially?
They have a decision.
They have a decision?
They have a decision. They can either decide to celebrate it on the 28th.
I'd celebrate both days. 28th and the 1st.
But if you were choosing either one, which one would you?
No, but I would tell half the people the 28th, half the people the 1st.
Look at you, greedy. Just
when it's actually the 29th, though, that must be epic. Like, you gotta go all out that day.
I know, it's like we're talking to like a 30-year-old, but really they're only like 5 or something like that, or 8.
Like me.
Yes, exactly. You're not 5. You're 45. Let's talk.
Relax. I'm not 45 yet. Don't spread false information out there.
My bad.
Fake news.
In less than 2 months, Adam Ronas will have a big birthday. Get him a nice little gift. He loves himself some nice dessert, chocolate cake. Big fan of that. Servo, don't forget about that. Servo, though, Baylor. Let's talk a little Baylor with you here. Taking on Oklahoma State. Keontae George, I was looking at his stat line going into for the season, seeing how many minutes he's been playing here. Big part of the rotation here. He's not going to play. Hurt himself last game here. Who on Baylor will be filling in for this guy and getting those minutes boosted and also more shots?
Yeah, big loss for Baylor for sure. I mean, this guy's got to be a lottery pick in the NBA draft, and him and Adam Flagler have been leading Baylor's team this year. So Adam Flagler is going to be definitely stepping on into more usage, just overall shots and running that offense. So he, DFS tonight and props and all that. He's the guy to look for just to take on more of the usage and shot volume than he already has. He's already been one of their top guys. But, if you're looking a little bit further down, Dale Bonner and Langston Love are the two guys, reserve guards, that are definitely going to step up tonight. Last game when George went out early, we saw Bonner go for 13 points, 20-plus DraftKings points, and jumped up to like a 28% usage rate overall in that game. And he's a guy that started a few games earlier this year when Flagler and LJ Cryer were out at times for Baylor. So he's got that starting experience, a veteran guy. And I think on the road here at Oklahoma State, I think he's going to be the guy to start. So if you're looking DFS, that's the first name I would look at and just confirm that he's starting. But even off the bench, I think he's going to play a big role. Then Langston Love is also a guy, I think, whether starting or off the bench, he's going to play a ton. And, he's a guy that's got a ton of talent, has dealt with a couple injuries over the last couple of years, but, was a high recruit and definitely capable of stepping up here into a bigger role.
On the other side, Avery Anderson III had wrist surgery early this month. When will we see him back in action, and who's been filling in for him?
Yeah, his return's a little bit more up in the air because he's been out for, I think, a couple of weeks now, maybe, almost a month. And as long as we know he's going to be out, but as always with college basketball injury news, it's kind of a thing where he could be active tonight and starting. But he's got a cast on his wrist with that wrist injury. So I don't think he's going to be out. Maybe it's a thing where they're trying to get him ready for the conference tournament coming up. So I would expect him to be out again unless we get some late news for that. But Caleb Asbury's been the guy that's been starting for him. So for DFS purposes, he's been a great value in a new starting role and been scoring in double digits left and right for Oklahoma State in that bigger role with more shot volume and all that. So he's a guy that should be starting tonight. I mean, no change there if Anderson is indeed out again. And then you got guys like Bryce Thompson has been one of their top, stepping into a more point guard role and on the ball more. So his kind of floor and overall DFS value has been a lot safer and a much better play while Anderson's been out.
Servo, for those that are just getting into DFS for college basketball, what are some of the differences when playing on FanDuel and DraftKings?
Yeah, it's very similar. It's interesting because DraftKings has been going on all season. FanDuel got a late start. They've been doing like just their showdown lineups for most of the season, and then it seemed like once football ended, FanDuel eventually started getting out like full slates for college basketball. But even now, it's DraftKings will pump out like tonight's 4 games. But like tomorrow night, it's a 12-game slate with a bunch more games in action, and FanDuel will still only have 5 or 6 games. So it's definitely shorter, just the player pool. And obviously when keeping in mind like values and all that, I think it's more chalky if you're playing over on FanDuel because some of the, everyone's kind of gravitating towards the same guys. And also with FanDuel, it's if you play on both, you realize that some of the players, even the top players, but a lot of the value guys are just a little bit mispriced, and the FanDuel, whatever algorithm pricing, all that just hasn't really caught up. And I guess maybe it's because they don't have that full season data that they're totally using. I don't know, but so FanDuel, it's kind of like everyone's playing some of the similar guys because a lot of them are values. But DraftKings, I like it because it's you have to be more sharp. You have to be sharper, and the sharper guys are coming out on top because more games. The pricing's a lot tighter, so you have to know exactly who you want. You can't just kind of plug and play all the names that you know. So I've liked DraftKings, playing on DraftKings, and I'll keep doing that because they have the bigger slates anyway.
Who are you spending up on tonight in DFS?
Yeah, we got North Carolina going on the road at Florida State is a big one. Total wise, it's the highest total on the board. So, and Florida State's been not a great team. The defense is especially terrible. So, North Carolina is really desperate to get, stack up some wins here to get off the bubble for the tournament. So, I think their top guys are all in play for sure. Armando Bacot definitely is the top forward on both sites tonight, and kind of in a tier by himself there. So, I think he's going to be very popular in both cash and GPP just because he can go off for 20-point double any time out, especially against Florida State. So him, and then the guard duo, Caleb Love and RJ Davis, are both great plays too. I think I'd lean Love over Davis, but they're both gonna put up points for sure. Even on the road at Florida State, it's not really a tough environment this year because the Seminoles aren't as good. I mentioned Adam Flagler for Baylor with Keontae George out. Flagler is going to be locked into his usage and shot volume, and I think it's going to be a great play for cash overall. The ceiling on the road might, to downplay that a little bit, but I think he's going to be locked in. So I like him. And then on FanDuel, I was talking about mispricing on FanDuel and guys a little bit cheaper. Matthew Cleveland, the best player for Florida State, he's $7K on FanDuel and $8,700 on DraftKings, just a big price differential. Whereas on DraftKings, you can still play him, but on FanDuel, definitely looking at him first. Just should not be priced that low for how good he is and his DFS value.
Talking college hoops with Dan Servodidio, and you can hang with Dan Servodidio on Twitter at Dan_Servodidio and catch all his work on fantasyalarm.com. Excellent college basketball and college football work. He's our lead analyst on the site. Servo, I got to ask you about North Carolina, man. This is a team that went to the national championship last year, and this year they're sitting there in the middle of the ACC. What changed with this team from last year to this year?
Yeah, it's really crazy. They were the number one team in the AP poll, number one ranked team coming into the season, and they've really fallen off. The one big difference, because they have a lot of the same guys from last year, basically the same starters, except the one difference is Brady Manick, who was kind of their stretch four, playing alongside Armando Bacot down low, really stretched the floor for them. Could drain from three, was really good offensive guy for them and go-to scorer down the stretch in the tournament run to the championship game last year. And him not being there, he graduated. Him not being there has been kind of a glaring issue for them where they're looking for guys to step up elsewhere. But they have Pete Nance, who was transferred from Northwestern, just hasn't been as good as Manick offensively. So I think that's like the big thing that's been very noticeable, at least offensively for North Carolina. The other thing is, you guys might find this interesting. So the motivation overall has been an issue. And I know like Armando Bacot actually called out like the team and said, it was a couple of weeks ago, said like, if anybody doesn't want to come back, don't come back, that kind of thing, like after a bad loss. And I think just overall the team isn't motivated. But an interesting kind of thing that's been underreported and just kind of like on those Reddit sites has been, apparently there's a woman issue between RJ Davis and Caleb Love.
Oh no.
Where apparently, I don't know which way it went, but whoever it was, the girlfriend left one of the players for the other one. So apparently that has caused a rift in the locker room, and it's transferred over to the court. So that might be also in play here. And I mean, you guys know it from like the NBA. I mean, it's either gambling or women issues are causing problems. So that's just something to keep in mind.
Happened with the Pacers. Remember that, Roan? Who was it? It was Roy Hibbert, and was it Paul George?
I think so, yeah.
Man, that's crazy. And it's dividing the locker room now?
That's just like one of those rumors. I mean, I think it's a lot of people sharing screenshots from like Instagram, that kind of thing. So I think it's true.
Yeah, that's right. You got to keep business and personal separate at this point, Servo. You get that. Servo, I got to ask you here, when it comes to these ACC teams, I mean, do you see any of these teams going on a tournament run? I mean, Duke's been pretty hot lately.
It's tough. The ACC is just down this year, so it's tough for me to pick. Like when the bracket comes out, we'll see matchups and all that to pick any of these teams, even Duke. To like, if they're a 7 seed, I might even pick them depending on who they're matched up with, like on the 10 seed to get upset in the first round. We'll see. The one team I do have an eye on, it's just kind of interested to see where they're going to be seeded. Maybe a 4 or 5 seed, it looks like, is Miami. Just one of the top 15 offense in the country, got a ton of talent at multiple spots that can, multiple guys that can score in crunch time. Their defense is the big worry, not a great defense, and they just lost to Florida State over the weekend, and it was like a high scoring, 80 something to 80 something game, where it's like, all right, their defense is definitely an issue if they're going to allow 80 points to Florida State here and lose at home. But their offense is as good as anybody in the country. They can score with anybody. So if they're in one of these matchups, they get by their first round matchup, avoid an upset, they could take face a higher ranked team in the first and the second round and make it to the Sweet 16, maybe the Elite 8. So that's a team I kind of have my eye on.
Any bets or player props that you like for tonight?
Yeah, I do like the I was talking about that Baylor-Oklahoma State game that we were mentioning earlier. I like the under in that one. Keontae George is going to be a big loss for them offensively. I mean, both ways. He's a good defender too, but I think offensively for sure his scoring and his just pure bucket ability is going to be a bit lost for them. And they're having these guys I mentioned, Dale Bonner, Langston Love, they have to step up that haven't been doing it all year. So it's a new kind of a environment for them on the road too, which is tough. So I do think their offense is going to struggle overall. And Oklahoma State, they really need a win here to get off the bubble and prove their tournament resume. So I think their defense is going to come in locked in and really try to keep this low scoring. They don't want Baylor to get out ahead and going up and down offensively, because Baylor is really dangerous offensively in that way. So I think they're going to want to grind this out and grind out a home win. I'd also look at Oklahoma State on the money line. That one's good for me too, but I do like the under overall in that game.
Another few minutes with our analyst from fantasyalarm.com, lead college sports analyst Dan Servo Didio. Servo, strongest and most competitive college basketball conference this year. Which conference stands out?
Yeah, it's been the Big 12. We were talking about the Big 12 a lot tonight, I guess. They just have like 1 through 8 is really good. 1 through 7 maybe going to make the tournament and going to be top 4 seeds. You got like teams that really people nationally don't really talk about or know too much about, like Kansas State, TCU, that are going to be tough outs in the tournament. Could easily pull off a win if they match up against other top teams like Alabama or UConn, kind of like that. So I these teams are just someone to watch. Even like the lower tier teams, you got like Iowa State that could sneak in, and they made a run last year in the tournament. They could do it again this year. They have that defensive mindset where they could get hot and pull it off. Even like if a team like, even the bottom tier of this conference is crazy, like Texas Tech, Oklahoma, it's just every night in the Big 12, anybody can lose, especially on the road. We just saw Oklahoma go on the road to Iowa State and win, and Texas Tech playing teams tough when they're at home. So it's just like that the bottom tier of this conference is so much better than the bottom tiers of, the Big East or the SEC, for example. So the Big 12 is definitely the top one. The other one to keep an eye on come tournament time is the Mountain West. They really don't get the national love because a lot of their games are late and the smaller schools, but you got teams like San Diego State, Boise State that are going to be tough outs in the tournament. Even like a team like Nevada is really talented. And Nevada's on the slate tonight for DraftKings. So that'll be a good game to watch against Wyoming. But this is a tournament team that could easily pull off a couple wins in the tournament and upset brackets.
Are there any seniors that are graduating that you think could become solid players in the NBA next year?
Yeah, we got a couple. It's the top end though. It's not like I remember last year we had Ochai Agbaji, who's doing pretty solid this year for the Pacers, right? Or
Jazz.
Oh, the Jazz. Okay. I was thinking of Chris Duarte from 2 years ago for the Pacers, though.
Yeah.
A couple of these seniors in recent years have gone right in. The one I love from a few years ago was Peyton Pritchard, right in for the Celtics. I knew he'd be a great contributor. The top end, though, is really freshman heavy and international heavy. You got your Wembanyama's and all that. I do like, Trace Jackson Davis is a guy for Indiana. He's killing it at Indiana. One of the best players in college basketball. Going to be an All-American for sure. He was a big guy. He's a center who really dominates the college level. Doesn't shoot threes. So that's a problem. And that's why he's going to go late in the first round, maybe in the second round. But he's a guy that's, a veteran and knows how to score in the post and plays really good defense. So I could see him coming right in and being a rotation guy for an NBA team. And then another one I got my eye on is Marcus Sasser for Houston. You're kind of a smaller guard and doesn't play. He plays solid defense, but he's just a smaller guy in general. So his NBA draft profile hasn't been great, but he's a guy that can light it up from three and could easily come off the bench for playoff teams.
Servo, I like these old school centers that have come into the NBA, especially some of the rookies like Jalen Duren really plays on the low block. That's it. Mark Williams, low block. That's it. Walker Kessler, low block guys. Because the problem is when you take them out of the paint too much and they try to do too much and get that high percentage long range shot, you're essentially downgrading their ability to keep the play alive if the shot is missed, if your big guy is flanking out there on the perimeter. So I'm all about these old school centers that are just rough and rugged and play on the low block. I know that people want to see the flash. People want to see these guys shooting threes. But with those three centers, when they've been given the time, they've been able to make that impact. There's still a place for those old school centers, just like there's always a place, Servo, for you on the playbook. You've been joining us every single week. We've been burning you with a ton of questions. Thank you so much again for stopping by, and good luck in all your contests and with all your bets this evening.
Yeah, thank you guys for bringing me on as always.
Yes, sir. Dan Servo Didio. Give him a follow on Twitter at Dan_Servo Didio. Follow all of his work on fantasyalarm.com. Let's preview a team that Servo, an MLB team that Servo probably doesn't like too much, but who cares, because I love this team. The Roan Man loves this team. It's time to meet the Mets. Let's talk about which Mets we're going to be looking at drafting. You'll also check in with Ronas regarding some of his slow draft activity. The TGFBI, the Great Fantasy Baseball Invitational, is something that you'll hear a lot of fantasy analysts talk about. We'll get Ronas's team as well. Before we visit the land of NBA, a lot of props to talk about, very few games. Happy to talk plays, as it is the playbook here on BSN.
As a longtime baseball fan, here's my message to other baseball fans, to steal a line from the Packers' future Hall of Fame quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, RELAX. Everyone needs to relax after what we saw this past weekend as spring training games out in Arizona and down in Florida got going, and we're inching closer and closer to Major League Baseball opening day. The rule changes in Major League Baseball is not for myself. It's not for you out there, the hardened baseball fan, whether you're a fan 5, 10, 15, 30, or even 50 years from all around this great country. It's not for those that are going to be locked in. It's for trying to generate more fans. So if they want the pitcher to go out there and work in rhythm with a guy on base begin the windup within 20 seconds. Nobody on base, begin the windup within 15 seconds. Or have the batter make sure that he's back in the batter's box within 8 seconds. Then making the base pass first, second, and third bigger, eliminating the shift. All of this is to make the game better. We've seen leagues, whether it be the National Football League. Do you think it's the same league as it is today in 2023, or what we saw in 2022 as it was 30 years ago? No, it's not. Is NBA basketball the same? No. How many games do you see being played? 83-79 finals. You don't see that at all. So every league adjusts to try and bring what? More fans into the sport. And that is something that Major League Baseball is going out there and trying to do. I've been critical at times of Rob Manfred, whether or not as a MLB commissioner, whether he likes the sport based on some of the rhetoric that he has spewed in years gone by. But I got to be honest with you, as a longtime baseball fan, I've been a Yankee fan my entire life. Watched a ton of Met games here in the tri-state area. Watched baseball all around. Can't wait for October baseball. Think it's absolutely unbelievable what is transpiring now and what's happening now and the rule changes being brought about baseball. It's going to bring back to the game to when I became a fan, where the stolen base was something, moving guys over was something, having men on base, batting averages ascending, not being an all or nothing league where either you're striking out or hitting the ball over the fence. And that is what baseball is trying to do. So as everybody tries to adjust, and change is difficult, whether you're changing your diet, exercise routine, changing your relationships, changing a job, change is different. I get that. And it's hard. But let's take a step back. Let's understand what Major League Baseball is trying to do here. And they're trying to repopulate or repopularize the sport. That's what they're trying to do. They're clearly the third most popular sport in the United States. They want to make it less regionalized. This is the way they need to go about doing it. I'm all for it. For more content like this, download the Bettor Sports Network app or go to bettorsports.com.
Mays Hayes here. Play like Mays, I run like Hayes.
Preparations for the 2023 fantasy baseball season have begun, and the playbook is taking a daily look at each team's hitting.
Straight ball, I hit it very much. Curveball, that's all free.
And pitching.
Of course, if the umps are watching me close, I just rub a little jalapeno inside my nose, get it running. Wipe my nose.
You put snot on the ball?
And Lindor lines it into center field. Base hit, and the Mets win the ball game. Nimmo comes home with the winning run. Francisco Lindor with the tying hit in the 5th, the winning hit in the 10th, and the Mets take the opener of the doubleheader from the Giants, 5-4.
Francisco Lindor, if you want him on your fantasy baseball team, well, likely having to pay top 30 value there. The New York Mets won 101 games last season, and I was hanging out with my boy Adam Ronas here, who was saying that if the Mets were going to do damage, they must win the division. They didn't win the division, got matched up against the Padres, and that's all she wrote, Rome. But that's the last time we're going to talk about that. We're flipping the page, new season, new expectations. I was looking at their win total, though, on DraftKings Sportsbook, seeing it at 94.5. The over -105, the under -115. Coming off that 101 win year, man. How you feeling about the Mets going into 2023?
I mean, you should feel good, but I still think there's kind of issues on the offensive side. They really didn't do anything to bolster this offense. I mean, it's pretty similar to last year. So we saw in the postseason they had trouble hitting. What's changed?
Nothing really. I mean, a lot of their additions, their key additions are pitching from the pitching.
I mean, it's great to have good pitching, but I still think this team needs another bat. Hopefully they'll make a move at the deadline because you're also hoping that Brandon Nimmo stays healthy again. Starling Marte has missed games and is coming off double groin surgery. Lindor and Alonso pretty much played every game. Are they going to be able to do that again? So there's questions with the offense for sure. The pitching, looks good with Verlander coming off that ridiculous season after the Tommy John surgery. So you do have some age up top with Verlander and Scherzer. Kodai Senga they bring in. How's he going to translate to the major leagues? They did re-sign Edwin Diaz, which is big. So We know they have an owner that's going to go out and spend and do everything he can to improve this team, but they are in a tough division. The Braves are still good. The Phillies are still good. So I want to be optimistic, but there's still some question marks here.
A tough division. That's going to be hard for them. But like you said, I mean, aged pitching up top here, seeing here on the NFBC boards here over the last just about a month, you're seeing Verlander and Scherzer go at the 43 and 47 spots. So you're going to be spending a nice pretty penny for either one. Do you have a preference if you were choosing between which pitcher to draft, who you like better between the two?
Yeah, I lean Scherzer, but it's close. But I lean Scherzer at this point.
And when it comes to Kodai Senga, who they got, I mean, what are some of the specialties? I mean, what makes him unique when it comes to his pitching style? Is there anything that we should be looking out for that'll make him stand out from other pitchers?
Some of the pitches he has in the movement. So he's got a good splitter. Again, it's always how does it translate to the big leagues and adjusting to the 5-man rotation as opposed to the 6. So the projection systems, they pretty much vary. You're looking at an ERA in the mid to high 3s, about a strikeout per 9 with pretty good control. So, I haven't taken him in a draft yet. I'm willing to in the right spot, but, there's always that adjustment period. We saw it last year with Seiya Suzuki. It took him a while. I know it's a different position, but you do have to take that into account.
When you're looking at potentially double-digit rounds, you're looking to draft someone at value from this team. Does someone like Jeff McNeil make your draft target list?
No, because he just doesn't have power. I mean, yeah, the batting average is great, but he doesn't really do much else. He doesn't run much. The 23 home runs in 2019 came when everyone was hitting home runs. He had 9 last year. So, I mean, again, 307 career hitter. That's great. Makes excellent contact, but better real life player than fantasy.
I mean, anybody else that you're even actively targeting or even excited about from a fantasy standpoint in this lineup? Because, I mean, you're seeing a bunch of players, at least from the boards I'm looking at. You're going very, very late here, but nothing really that exciting, though. I mean, you said it. You didn't really do much on the hitting side in the offseason. Tommy Pham?
Yeah, I mean, he's the 4th outfielder. I don't think he's going to play every day. So not really. Marte, I have concerns about because you draft him and his price is cheaper than last year, but you're drafting him for speed. He only had 18 steals last year. His sprint speed went down, and maybe that was a product of the injury. Outfield is kind of thin. He does always give you a good batting average, 292 last year, career 290 hitter, but you're really drafting him for the speed. And, he was also caught 9 times last year. He had 18 steals, but he was caught 9 times. So he's a guy that I have not been drafting. I love Pete Alonso, but you got to spend a 2nd-round pick on him. I did see him go in a draft 15th overall, which I don't think is actually that crazy. He keeps improving his strikeout rate every year. He's a good bet to lead the majors in home runs. Lindor is a guy that's going in round 3. I just took him in a draft. He's not a target for me, but that if you're picking in a 15-team league in the top 5, that's 2nd and 3rd round to me. I don't like it. There's like a lot of guys that I don't like there. And I decided to go Lindor in round 3 of the TGFBI. And I didn't think I was going to do it, but because a couple reasons. Shortstop is really deep. But you know what, though? I don't know what's going to be there later in drafts. And if I have to take another shortstop around 4 or 5, I'll do it. I'm all about getting the best stats in the first few rounds. I think there are people talking about position scarcity in round 1. That's absurd, man. You take the best stats. If you have a tiebreaker, you can go, okay, well, outfield is more shallow than shortstop. I'm going to take the outfield. But, Lindor is a guy that stays on the field for most of his career. I do think the park hurts him as far as like elite power, but his counting stats are going to be good. This lineup, even though it lacks power, they're very good from an OB perspective up top. So if he's going to play a full season, like the runs are going to be there, the RBIs, he'll get you some steals. He had 16 last year. Say 15. The batting average has kind of been all over the place. It was 270 last year, 230 in 2021, but I'm throwing that out. That was an adjustment period to New York. He had 284 in 2019 with Cleveland, but I don't think we'll see that. I mean, his batting average might go down a little bit, but he's going to give you solid stats across the board. And that's kind of what I'm looking for in that that third round. And, again, shortstop is pretty deep, but, I don't know what's going to happen. A bunch of shortstops can go. And like I said, I'm okay filling my middle infield spot early in a draft. It's not about the positions. And I think that's a mistake people make. And I'm seeing it this year. Oh, third base is so thin. I got to get my third baseman. No, you don't. You don't. There's always going to be someone. So don't reach on a third baseman because the position's top heavy. Fill your corner infield spot with a first baseman instead. Fill your middle infield with a shortstop. It's all about the stats, man. If you're good and you know the player pool, you're going to figure it out. So I just see people make that mistake way too much. And I see people talking about positional scarcity in the first round. I just think it's absolutely absurd, man. You're trying to get the best stats you can early on. So, my TGFBI started today. I had pick 4. I went Jose Ramirez at pick 4. And in round 2, I didn't like what was there, and I went Edwin Diaz. Saves are very difficult to get. There's very few guys that can close. So I took Diaz because I thought Aaron Nola or Woodruff would make it back, and maybe I was going to go in that direction. Neither did. So I went Lindor, and there's a big run on pitching in this round. Round 3 started Arenado, Rodon, Woodruff. I went Lindor, then Clase, Hader, Scherzer, Altuve, McClanahan, and Cease. So, but I really
did the right thing.
Yeah, I think so. I got, Ramirez, Lindor give me a nice base of power and speed and good counting stats in the middle of the lineup. And now with Diaz, I don't need to worry about my second closer for a while. So when that run happens in the 5th, 6th round, I'll be taking other positions. Diaz had 32 saves last year. There's no reason why he can't get 40. He had over 100 strikeouts. So, he really just, again, I don't like taking a closer in round early. I do it more in the draft champions. Both my draft champions so far, again, that's a league you cannot make roster moves. That is your team for the year. So in that one, I took Clase in round 2, and I took Josh Hader in round 3. I don't think I'll be doing it in Tout Wars. I don't know where I pick yet. I should find out soon. But this was just a case of I didn't love what was on the board at that point. So
you went with a very secure closer.
Yeah, I mean, he has the job. Is it possible that he sucks or gets hurt? Sure, but I can say that with everyone.
The Mets need to do one thing to ensure that Edwin Diaz remains dominant. They need to keep Timmy Trumpets as far away from him as humanly possible. They just need don't spotlight it or anything. Let him do the work. Let him get his saves. Play the song. It's the novelty song when he's coming out and everything. Play the song. You don't have to make a big parade with Timmy Trumpets. And don't do it towards the end of the season, too. Just don't do that. Don't put any more pressure on this guy. What about Eduardo Escobar? Guy with a bit of pop here, 20 home run potential. Someone that I saw going on the NFBC boards. Man, going there at what, like 392?
I'll take him in a DC, but remember, he really had a bad year in his September. He really came on strong. I think there's a chance he doesn't finish the year with the job. Brett Beatty, I think he's a good player. We saw him homer to center field the other day. And I think at some point, he could overtake him, especially if Escobar struggles like he did to start last year. So really, really not interested in him.
Let's bring on our producer for today, Anthony Rivera, because Anthony is a big Mets guy and actually hosts his own Mets podcast, Subway to Shea. I saw it actually did a good job promoting it on LinkedIn, and you could get it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all there. Hey, our talent here, our producing talent does have talent. We go to Adam Bernard for hockey, Jared Moore when he's on. We go to him for hockey as well. And now with Anthony here, Anthony, let's get your take regarding the New York Mets here. I mean, we were all hurt after what happened last year. We're all waiting for that Mets title. Thought they had that chance. The division lead, they let it slip out of their hands. Got matched up with the Padres. Did not go well. What are your thoughts about this team overall heading into 2023?
I do like the total wins at 94 for sure. I don't think that they're going to match last year. It's going to be extremely tough to get to 101 wins or even more than that, especially with this roster, like you mentioned, not adding a bat. I do think that they suffered last year from fatigue at the end of the season, as well as losing Starling Marte, which was a big deal. But they could have used another back. Correa would have helped that out big time. But that is now past for the Mets. But it's going to be a tough division. You got the Braves are the top still. You got the Phillies adding a lot to their roster, and I don't know how it's going to work out with playing every team and not just playing the Braves and Phillies 19 or 20 times a season. But, hopefully they can get into the playoffs. It would benefit them to win the division. But as we saw last year, the Phillies didn't need that to make it to the World Series.
That's baseball right there, man. That's just how it works. You get hot at the right time. You go on a little bit of a run. What do you think of that, Roan, with the schedule kind of changing and not having to play those division teams a zillion times? Do you like that a little bit better, more variety?
Yeah, I have no problem with it. I know some people don't like it, but I'm okay with it. It should help the Mets playing some of the weaker teams in baseball because I think Braves and Phillies are two of the better teams. So not playing them as much should help. Because this division's tough. That's the thing. With everything that the Mets do with the money they spent, it's just like, well, the Braves are very resourceful in what they do and getting all these guys on cheap contracts. So, it's definitely a tough division.
Yeah, Spencer Strider, just unbelievable with what this Braves team, the management, they deserve some kind of medal from that, how low that payroll ends up being. The New York Mets won 101 games last year. We'll have to see what they could do or if they're going to break hearts. But, hey, this pitching ready to roll here. I'm excited to see what Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer are going to bring to this team.
There's some news here in baseball. The injuries are already starting, but Tyler Glasnow sustained an oblique injury during a live BP session today. So they're going to have an MRI tomorrow to determine the severity, but he's going to miss some time. He threw 6 pitches and walked off the mound. And I hate this because I wanted no part of Tyler Glasnow this year. So I was glad when people were taking him. I love the talent, but like where this guy was going, it's like, how are you going to take him that early? I know this stuff is really good. And I had him outside the top 30, I believe. He threw 6 2/3 innings last year, 88 in 2021, 50. The guy hasn't thrown 100 innings since 2018. I get he's great
right now.
I get he's great on a per game basis, but I'm not taking that guy as a top 25 pitcher. So I don't like seeing this. Like I always say, I want the players that I like to have a poor spring because I don't want them to rise up draft boards. I just want them to stay healthy, just kind of fly under the radar. But then the players I don't want, I don't like this because now that's going to push another pitcher up, potentially one that I want.
It's unfortunate, man, these injuries, though. And we're also hearing from Anthony Rivera, too. Gavin Lux carted off as well. Dang, knee pain for him. Not good. Nothing you can do about it. Spring training, they got to shake off the rust a little bit here. But, yeah, man, I was looking at those stats for Glasnow and just not what you want to see. It's hard to rely on this guy. You're right.
Look, people love him because they see the video of him and how nasty he is. That's great, but he just does not stay healthy. And even if he was healthy, it's like, okay, well, how many innings are you getting out of him? And you're going to take this guy, in a 15-team league as your SP2? That's just really shaky. So he was a guy that I was not interested in. So I hope he's okay, comes back, and people start drafting him again.
We will absolutely let you know all the injury updates as we get ready for the start of the 2023 MLB season. It's going to be different here. Rona said it before. Games, they're ending quicker. Will it build and bring that audience, a new audience in there, an audience that has a generation of 20-something-year-olds that demand instant gratification and can't be patient enough to sit there for a 3-hour baseball game, but instead the instant gratification, these rule changes, let's see if it makes the game grow. Because there's nothing like it. I've said it 1,000 times on this show. There's nothing like being at a baseball game. I actually like watching baseball. Whereas when I'm watching basketball, hockey, that adrenaline rush, baseball allows me to just enjoy sports more because of the slower pace when it comes to that. And I'll say this. When it comes to games, we've all watched those games being diehard sports fans. We've all watched those games where even if our teams that we root for aren't involved, still makes your adrenaline pump. I will never forget when my heart was racing during Game 7 of the 2014 World Series between the Royals and the San Francisco Giants. Madison Bumgarner made that catch. Game is over. That game, I was standing. That game was just an example of why I just love and bleed sports so much, because if a game is making your heart race, if a game, and you don't even have skin in that game, is making you that invested, that just shows your love for this amazing area of life called sports. And speaking of things we love talking about the NBA here on Bettor Sports Network. We do it all the time. And from March Madness to the World Series, Bettor Sports Network presents the 2023 Sports Futures Draft, featuring picks and odds for the most exciting sporting events of the year. Join Corey Parson and Nando DeFino and the Bettor team of producers to find out where the best values are in sports futures, plus betting advice and strategy. Don't miss the Sports Futures Draft, now playing at bettorsports.com and on demand with the BSN app. He's Adam Ronis. I'm Justin Fensterman. Let's talk about these 4 games. Let's talk about where we're going when it comes to bets, maybe even a little DFS too, on the playbook here on Bettor Sports Network.
Moose and Keith, weekdays at 10 a.m. Eastern on Bettor Sports Network.
Calvin Ridley yesterday, he applied for reinstatement from the National Football League.
Ridley, Kirk, Zay Jones, Travis Etienne, Trevor Lawrence. That is crazy potent on offense.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. I mean, Ridley's great.
I think Trevor Lawrence is a guy I want in fantasy this year.
I think you're probably right. I think they're just going to get better and better. First off, Peterson's a wonderful offensive mind, a great head coach, and we've seen that and saw that this year as Jacksonville made it to the postseason. And Trevor Lawrence, anybody that questioned whether or not he could play in the National Football League or just how good he was going to be in the NFL, those questions were answered this past season as in the second half of the year. Statistically speaking, he was a top 3 quarterback in the NFL. That's how good Trevor Lawrence is. You throw Calvin Ridley into the mix, he's going to be great. Yeah, I think Lawrence is a guy you want. I think Ridley's a guy you want. Clearly, Travis Etienne is going to be one of those early, first-round selections as well, being the dual-threat running back that he is, not only running, but also catching the ball out of the backfield, Keith, and the ability to take something small and take it to the house. Take a 5-yard dump pass, make a guy miss in the open field, and he's gone. I mean, you saw that with Travis Etienne this past season for Jacksonville. Yeah, sky's the limit. I mean, I think you're going to go from a team in the year span where you wanted no part of the Jacksonville Jaguars when you're looking at fantasy football to where you want as many Jaguars as you possibly can, because they're going to be really, really productive. And let's see if they get their tight end back as well. Who had
Evan Ingram was great.
And Evan Ingram, who was great this past season.
Yeah. I mean, if they keep that whole core together, their offense is going to be one of the best in football. Like, I legitimately think that they could be one of the best offenses in football.
Zay Jones, Evan Ingram, Christian Kirk, then
and Ridley,
Travis Etienne, Trevor Lawrence, a good offensive line, and you've got Doug Peterson being creative calling.
Right.
And you look at that division. The Colts are a mess.
Yep.
Titans
look like they're on the downslide.
Titans are on the downslide, right? That window is clearly closed. And then you got the Houston Texans.
Years away from relevancy.
Yeah.
I mean, Jacksonville could win 11 games next year.
Moose and Keith, weekdays at 10 a.m. Eastern on Bettor Sports Network.
Tate with him, sets his feet, leans back for 3. Got it! Damian Lillard, a career high. The three-pointer for Lillard is 12th of the night. 64 points for Damian Lillard in 35 minutes, and the crowd is on their feet.
Welcome back to the playbook here on Bettor Sports Network. I love this song. This reminds me of Remember the Titans for some reason, this song. Nice little 70s track going here. I want to say it's by the Hollies, I believe, there. Maybe Will Shuddy can tell me who this is by. I believe it's Hollies or something like that. I could be totally wrong about this. I'm Justin Fensterman. He's Adam Ronis, and this guy's got a lot of bets to talk about here, Ronan. I don't want to skip ahead, but I'm going to skip ahead for just a second here because I've already seen news that not only will Colin Sexton be out for the Jazz for another few games, but also Jordan Clarkson's going to be out. So immediately when it's presented tomorrow or even later tonight, we have to once again look at that rebounds plus assist prop for Taylor Horton Tucker, because he's going to be coming through even more now, and he's going to have the ball in his hands a lot more. But I digress, because we got tonight's action coming up right after us, by the way, here on the network is Monday Night Rants. It's your chance to rant about fantasy sports, betting, and more on Monday Night Rants. Join Ed Rouse to talk about the NBA, college hoops, NFL free agency, NASCAR, the upcoming baseball season, and more. Monday Night Rants with Ed Rouse tonight at 7 Eastern, right after us here on the Bettor Sports Network app and at bettorsports.com. What do you think, Ron? I should probably have talked about this or talk to you about this beforehand, but what do you think, man? Should we just kind of go fireworks style regarding these props, what we're seeing, what we're feeling, or do we go game by game again? Did you like doing that, or did you like just kind of how we've been doing it in the past? You can
we could just fire things off.
Nice. I figured you liked that a little bit better. I did too afterwards. After Friday, I was just like, So let's talk about some of the props that we're looking at for this evening, Ronan. Just 4-game slate tonight. You've got the Miami Heat taking on the Philadelphia 76ers. Sixers favored by 5.5 points, a low 217.5 total. Then you've got a 234 total between the Pistons and the Hornets. Charlotte favored by 6.5. The Celtics and the Knicks, Boston by 2.5. No Jaylen Brown for the Celtics. He'll be back next game. The Knicks 2.5-point underdogs, 224 total. And then finally, the Magic and the Pelicans, Pels favored by 4, a 228 total there, man. You start us out. Where are we going?
Yeah, I like Mark Williams tonight over 9.5 rebounds for Charlotte. You could consider his points and rebounds too. It's 21.5, but I'm going to go with the over 9.5 rebounds. Gone over in 2 of the last 3 games, had 20 in his last game against Miami and Detroit. Going to be shorthanded tonight. No Jalen Duren. I believe Isaiah Stewart. Was he ruled out officially?
I think he's out, yes.
Yeah, so it's a good spot for Williams. He's been playing at least 29 minutes in 3 of the last 4 games. So I think he has a pretty big game tonight. So I got the over 9.5 rebounds minus 110. I'm fine with the points rebounds as well. And I like Derek White for Boston. Now, you could take the easy way out here and just play his assist, but it's juiced up. Last I saw was 3.5 at minus 140. Like, I don't see how he doesn't go over that. In fact, you could maybe play it 5+, 6+ at better plus odds. Yeah, it's 3.5 on DK at minus 140. I mean, I don't see how he doesn't go over that. He's averaging 6.6 assists in the last 7 games when Jaylen Brown's been out. But I like the points and assists at 21.5. I mean, they already said he's in the starting lineup, and the last 6 games he's played at least 30 minutes. He's gone over this. I know he played the Knicks recently and did not go over this, but he only played 20 minutes, and Jaylen Brown played in that game. Jaylen Brown is out, so they're going to need White to score. And he's come close to this, even coming off the bench recently. The last game against Philly, he had 18 points, 2 assists in 25 minutes. He had 17 points, 2 assists in 25 minutes against Indiana. But the last time we saw him play 43 minutes against Memphis on the 12th, and it was an overtime game, he had 10 assists and 10 assists and 23 points. Actually, no, the Milwaukee game was overtime. He had 27 points, 12 assists, 43 minutes. Game before that, 23 and 10 against Memphis. So I think White's in a good spot tonight where he'll probably get double-digit shots from the field, and I think the assists are going to be there too. I could see him getting 6-7 assists. If he does that, we only need like 15 points. And he scored at least 17 in every game this month except 2. And that's even coming off the bench. So I see a really good game for Derek White here tonight.
Even with Marcus Smart back in, he's still been producing.
Yeah.
Isn't that what happens is, Ronan, I'm looking at the minutes for Marcus Smart, and since returning from injury, he's had 2 games of fewer than 30 minutes here. But let me add, one of those games was a blowout, by the way. But do you think that Derek White, once they bring in their second unit, and if they bench Smart, he becomes the de facto point guard, even if Brogdon is on the floor, right?
Yeah, he could. So either way, I see him producing tonight. I also like Tatum in this game. Now, there's so many different ways you can go with him. But I did the over 31.5 points. He's averaging 34.2 points per game without Jaylen Brown. He's gone over in 70% of the games without Jaylen Brown. Nick's allowed the second most points to small forwards, fifth most threes to small forwards. Last time Brown was out, he scored 35 against them. He's also been crushing his rebounds and assists. I'm pissed off I didn't play it the other night because I was eyeing it. It was 13.5 at plus money. He's just rebounding like crazy, and the assists too. I mean, the last 3 games he's had 13-6, 12-7, 9-7, and the line I believe is 13.5. So you could do that. You can do PRAs. You can do points. I mean, yeah, it's supposed to be a close game. Knicks have been playing very well, and no Jaylen Brown, so I like that as well. I do like some unders in the Philly game. I like Harden under 10.5 assists because Miami plays at a very slow pace.
Mm-hmm.
They're I think it's the 3rd slowest pace. They're 4th in defensive efficiency. And that number, okay, it's 10.5 on some books. It's dropped to 9.5 on a couple.
Wow, they want you to take it.
Yeah, man, they do. No,
You're right, though. That's why the total's so low, man. Because
I know this is scary, but Embiid's under points. He's had a bad history against Miami and Adebayo. So those are 2 you can play in that game. And then kind of
Miami ranks 2nd in best defense against centers this year.
Yeah, I kind of like Jimmy Butler, man. This is a big game for Miami. They have been playing bad now. Tyler Hero is active. He's going to play. But Miami has been struggling, man. They lost 4 games in a row. And this feels like a game, Butler did play for Philly where Butler could go off. It's 20.5 on DraftKings at -115. It's 21.5 on other books. But this feels like a Jimmy Butler game where he's going to be like, you know what? We need to win. Going against Philly. Give me the ball. And he's gone over 20.5 in 4 of the last 5. Crazy
you worried
part
about
is
Tobias Harris at all?
Not really, no.
Because
the crazy part is he doesn't take a lot of shots from the field, man.
Right.
We're getting to the free throw line though.
He's been making some comments too. I don't think he's happy again. I think we're starting to get unhappy Jimmy Butler once again. But I guess you could think that if the team is losing, they're not playing well. Because I'm sorry, I just don't see this team being a threat in the playoffs. I don't. They could slow you down, but that's about it. I know that they're dealing with backcourt injuries. I know Kyle Lowry should be back soon, but he hasn't looked the same since the first injury. I've been telling you this. He just hasn't looked the same since he first hurt himself. But I just don't see this team doing damage, man. Do you in the playoffs?
I've never been high on them at all this entire year. I'm not feeling it with them. I just know they have a history of doing well in the playoffs after bad regular seasons, but I'm not feeling it this year.
Another player, then I was talking with you about this guy before, but
by the way, real quick, LeBron James listed as out for tomorrow. Remember, he hurt his foot at the end of the game. Yeah,
he hurt a pop, but he still was able to play. I mean, you think based on when you hurt, I think it was you what that was talking about with this. When you injure yourself, I mean, there's a certain adrenaline that you can use to bridge yourself for the rest of the game, and then the pain and the swelling starts to really settle in. You believe in that, right? Like you believe that LeBron on the adrenaline to the pop and everything like that. I mean, do you feel like he's going to be out for a while? Because, I mean, I
don't know, but I mean, this is not sitting out. They're fighting for a playoff spot. He doesn't want to be out. This is not a rest. This is a legit injury. You could see him limping after the game in street clothes.
Yep. Not good. Not good. And I thought that LeBron, out of the 25 games I was asked at the time when the Lakers had 25 to go, I was asked how many LeBron plays, and I had said 20. He missed the next game. Now he's going to miss this game coming up here.
And D'Angelo Russell's doubtful too.
Yeah, man, that just sucks there. Bad break for them here with him with the ankle injury. So it just stinks. But I'll say this about this Lakers team. I don't know how they came back yesterday against the Mavs, because the Mavs seemed to be in pretty good control of this game. And then all of a sudden, chipping at that lead little by little, and LA was able to make it happen. They did such a great job at the trade deadline, man. Getting guys like Vanderbilt, it's exactly what they needed. I got to say, how they made out at that trade deadline could definitely bolster this team overall. Now, for everybody that's wondering if I'm thinking that this team's going to go on a playoff run, go to the championship, I don't think so. I don't think so. I just can't fully put my faith into that. I can't bet a future on this team. LeBron James is right now hurt. We don't know what the immediate future is. He going to be cold after that? I mean, he's LeBron James. You would expect him to still be LeBron James. But we got to see where we're at with his lower body here. And now you're relying even more on Anthony Davis, Mr. Glass, to stay healthy, Roan. That's why, even though I'm not one of these people are going to want to find reasons to bet the Lakers here. They're going to see the odds to win the conference. They're going to see those odds. And I'm not doing it, man. I'm not going to throw my money out the window on the highway betting this team for a future to win the championship or even the West there. You can't do that with an Anthony Davis.
No, definitely not. But the odds are always going to reflect it. They're 4-1 since trading Westbrook. They made all the moves to the Lakers, and people are going to go crazy.
I was going to try to convince you about James Wiseman, his points, rebounds prop. It's a little high, though. I'm not going to do that anymore, man. I'm not. I've seen that Wiseman at 26.5 for points, rebounds. And I know that we have no Duren. I know that the future of this team is now going to be focused on Wiseman, but still, man, number seems a little bit high. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm not going to play that.
No. Where else are you looking tonight for NBA props?
I think Banchero's under is interesting. He is shot poorly in the month of February. Is it still 19.5 or did they lower it? Let me see. It is.
We're crushing it on his props at the start of the year.
Okay. It's 19.5 on some books. Yeah, 19.5 on DK, minus 125. It's 18.5 on FanDuel. Yeah, he's been under 19 almost every game this month except 2, and the 2 games were 22 points. He's just hasn't been shooting it well in the month of February. Pelicans are actually ranked pretty well defensively, so I could see that as a potential under. He's shooting 35.3% from the field this month, and he's had some favorable matchups that he's not been able to go over. He had Indiana, Detroit, Charlotte. He did go over against Charlotte. He's just not been shooting the ball. You wonder if he's hitting that rookie wall. I'm going to go back to Mark Ingram tonight. He burned me against the Knicks, but I'm going to go back to his over.
It's an Ingram night.
Yeah, he had 22 shots against the Knicks. He just missed. It's going to happen. But the volume that he's getting at this point, and this is a big game for the Pelicans. I mean, they need this W in the worst way, man. Yeah, I like Brandon Ingram tonight. He shot 7 of 22 against the Knicks. Well, look at the shots he's getting: 22, 27, 21, 24.
You can't hate it. He's getting the volume.
Yeah, man. So, it's going to happen. He had a bad shooting night. I expect it to be better against Orlando. And before that, he had 36, 25, 34, 25, 30, 35, 26. I mean, and he's shooting 49.7% from the field in February. He just happened to have 31.8% against the Knicks. So I think it went up to 25.5 on some books though. Yeah.
For just the points.
Yeah.
So I was looking at first. I'm like, why am I seeing it at 30.5? And now I'm seeing it was points, rebounds.
That's points and rebounds or points and assists.
I was just on points, rebounds, and I saw it at 30.5. I could go back to that.
Yeah, I kind of like the points. I mean, he's been getting a lot of 3-4 rebounds lately.
Right.
So I kind of prefer the points.
I got somebody else that I'm going to bring up here. Little bit risky, but it's a good matchup here. Also from the Pelicans. Who am I talking about? What players props might I bet for the second time all year?
I know.
We're going to tell you who it is. Let's see if Ronas can guess it. Going to tell you who it is. Here in the playbook on Bettor Sports Network.
The Playbook with Fensty and Ronas, presented by FantasyAlarm.com. Weekdays at 5 Eastern.
People are always very critical when it comes to fantasy baseball. I would say this, and I'm a big fantasy basketball guy. I love fantasy football. There's no fantasy sport that's even close to being as hard as baseball. The season, having to figure out, especially if you're playing weekly, which I don't like to play. Weekly with the 2 starts, having to look at the schedule and everything. I mean, you play in basketball as well. There's no fantasy sport that's harder or more involved than baseball. Takes forever. You take a whole night to do your fab on Sundays.
Yeah, baseball is the most challenging, and I think that's why the popularity has gone down. People don't want to work. They don't want to put in the time. There's a lot of strategy that goes into it. You have to know the player pool. That's why I love doing these 15-team, 50-round drafts. I mean, 750, 800 players. You lower all the minor leaguers. I took Spencer Strider last year in my first draft Champions League in round 40, and that turned out to be a phenomenal pick. So it puts you on to knowing everything about every team. And yeah, it's a lot of work. So I definitely think that it's a challenge, and I just feel like people don't want to put in time and work anymore. And I'm not saying fantasy football is easy. It's not. But you cannot tell me that fantasy football is more difficult than fantasy baseball. I play both sports. I don't have an allegiance to either one. I love both. I play both. But, fantasy baseball is a grind, man. You got to put in months of preparation. Spring training is important. It helped me get Carlos Rodon a couple years ago. I was not on him until the spring, seeing the velocity and the changes. So there's a lot of things you can discover in the spring. And this is the first real full spring training that we've had in years. Now, there is the WBC that is going to cut into it a little bit, and some guys will not be at camp. But the spring can help you discover. And again, you're talking about, even if you're in a 12-team league, I mean, you're probably going to have 23 to 30 roster spots. And then the 15-team leagues and the minor leagues, I mean, you got to know a lot. I mean, it takes a lot of skill to win a fantasy baseball title. We've seen it, right? You can have an average player win a fantasy football league. We've all been in leagues where yeah, this guy's not that good. He's probably going to win a championship at some point. Things break right. He has a great draft, picks up a player off the waiver wire. That's not happening in fantasy baseball, man. You do not see bad players win fantasy baseball championships. You just don't. It's a 6-month season. You can't afford to take a week or two off from fab. You can't do it. Last year, say you took off the week where Taylor Ward was the big pickup. You lost a player that was a contributor most of the season. I know we had a couple of down periods, and Taylor Ward was a player I added in multiple leagues, but you can't take that time off. You can't afford to miss out. And, every little detail is important. So I know fantasy baseball is not as popular as it used to be, but I personally feel it's because people don't want to work hard. They just don't. Everyone wants the easy way out now. They want easy access. That's why people don't read anymore. They want a quick video. Fantasy baseball is a lot of work, trust me. But you know what? When you win a championship, it's really gratifying.
Make bets and follow your fantasy team while you buy, sell, and trade collectibles in real time. Only on Bettor Sports Network.
Welcome back to the playbook here on Bettor Sports Network. On deck, Monday night rants with Ed Rouse. You can hang in here. Let's read some of your comments here. Wookie, what's going on, Wook? You got Go Pods. Thanks a lot, man. And Go Zags as well. Zags, when thinking about Adam Morrison crying after losing in that one game, bad turnovers by Gonzaga. They just let down so much as a whole. Always have. Then our Bettor boss here, loving the Dan Servo-Didio interview. Thank you, Matt Deutsch. And then, Roan, breaking news, but Truck says you were in a black hoodie today. Can you confirm that?
That is correct. Yeah, black Mets hoodie.
Oh, there you go. You did dress up for Mets Day. Love the support right there. You thought you could guess which player I was thinking about next. What player do you think I'm looking at for props?
J-Val.
Actually, no. It was originally Josh Richardson, and then I was looking up some numbers during our box break there, and now I'm kind of off of it. But somebody else that I'm kind of on here, we'll talk about Val Ball. What about LaMelo Ball? And this is a prop that I mentioned to you on Friday.
LaMelo Ball's not a guy you haven't bet on. What are you talking about?
LaMelo Ball?
Yeah.
I bet on him last week.
You said you had someone in
I know, and I told you it was Josh Richardson, but then I looked up some more numbers, and I'm off of it now. Okay. So the answer was Josh Richardson to the question. But then, while I was doing a little bit of extra research, I also then forgot that this LaMelo Ball prop that I bet last week came through. His rebounds and assists going up against the Pistons, 17.5. We're looking at a guy who's gone over this now I'm looking at least 6 straight games. And he's got Detroit tonight. This is something that I told you about a little bit before. I guess I could consider the points too, but
Last time he faced the Pistons, 8 rebounds, 8 assists in 40 minutes. I'm just worried this could be like one of those ugly games. Like everyone's like, oh, it's going to be great. It's 2 bad teams. We know Detroit doesn't want to win. So, yeah, I would just keep that in mind. I mean, I would lean towards the over. But, again, 8-8 last time.
Yeah, I noticed
it was
that.
118-112, though. It was a high-scoring game. But.
Right. And he's on this nice run right now. Just got another piece back in Kelly Oubre, who, by the way,
and PJ Washington is doubtful.
Right. I was looking up Kelly Oubre point props. I didn't see any on DraftKings Sportsbook. I mean, we got to be careful with the minutes, but he did take like 10 shots in his return. So
I think Hayward's the guy to look at if you want some props outside of.
I like going after Detroit, man. I've been very successful at attacking Detroit this year. I mean, it's nothing to brag about or anything.
Yeah, because they don't want to win.
They're a crap team. But still, we could look in that direction too for Gordon and Hayward. I rarely look at Hayward props, man. But this LaMelo Ball rebounds and assists, I can't keep my eye off of it, man. I'm thinking I'm going to put a small wager on that as one of my 3 bets for the evening. The other bets that I'm looking at from what you talked about, by the way, I know you said it's the easy way out, but I'm thinking now even at minus 140, Derek White's assists. I know you said it was the easy way out. Hey, man, I'll take easy way outs, man, when I'm not hitting parlays like I was about a week ago, or I wasn't about a week ago.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I mean, again, I did the points and assists because I think he's going to score too. But they need him to. Jaylen Brown accounts for a lot of offense, and Horford and Smart are just not going to shoot that much. So Brogdon will get his off the bench, but I do like Derek White to score tonight. So I have the points and assists. But yeah, if he assists at 3.5, like I don't see how he doesn't get there.
Neither do I. I think you're on to something with that. Cormac saying, by the way, after I mentioned Adam Morrison, saying, who was the first player you remember seeing cry after losing? For him, it was Adam Morrison. Adam Morrison was crying like a baby, pouting, hitting the floor. Cormac also said Tim Tebow after losing to Alabama. Here's one that you probably wouldn't think of. One of the players that I first remember crying was Reggie Miller after the Knicks beat the Pacers in Game 7 of the 94 Eastern Conference Finals. He was tearing up and he was crying, and Reggie Miller was the last person I would expect. He always held his head high, but he's also very competitive, and the emotions take over, and there was a lot of smack talking between him and the players, him and Spike Lee, which took about 3 games of coverage there, and that was one of the first I remember seeing. I'm just like, wow, Reggie Miller crying. That's something that I didn't think I see. I remember I was like 7. I was like, whoa, Reggie Miller crying like a baby. Roan, do you remember anybody who was crying after a loss?
No.
I'm trying to think who else there is for me. I mean, I thought I saw Alonzo Mourning cry after the Heat went down as the 1 seed in 1999. That was another one right there as well. So, yeah, that's a player, though, Reggie Miller, that I remember seeing crying after losing. But, yes, by the way, Will Shuddy saying that Reggie Miller versus the Knicks' favorite 30 for 30. Actually, the title of that is called Winning Time, and I would use that phrase when opening an old show because I just love the phrase winning time, and that is definitely one of my favorite 30 for 30s. I'd say also, speaking of NBA 30 for 30s, the ones that centered around NBA teams, this Magic moment, the one on the Orlando Magic, definitely one of the best. I mean, Roan, you were in your prime back in the 90s. How fun was it watching Penny Hardaway and Shaq back on the Magic?
Yeah, no, that was definitely a fun team. I enjoyed watching them.
They set the stage for a new style of basketball because back in the 90s, teams were trying to still get to the basket. There weren't a lot of teams that would stop and pop. The Orlando Magic were trendsetters, having guys like Nick Anderson, having guys like Dennis Scott, having guys like Scott Skiles even back in the day. They became that team that wouldn't just focus on driving. The opposition would go back to the painted area. They'd have the arc wide open, even on transition. The Bulls weren't doing anything like that. Bulls were still attacking. The Magic, though, they were shooting those threes. And it's just unfortunately disappointing because they went to the finals in 95 and lost against that 6th-seeded Rockets team, which was very shocking, but they lost all their momentum in game 1 of that series. Nick Anderson, that was the famous one where he had 4 chances to hit a free throw to make it a 2-possession game. He missed all 4, and then after that, the team just could not rally. Rowan, any other props that you're liking for tonight before we preview these games a little bit more intent?
I don't know what happened, but BetMGM took Brandon Ingram's points prop off the board, man. I guess they're juicing it up.
They have to be, unless we're getting some notes here on other members of the team.
No, I think they see the other books have it at higher juice, so they're like, oh wait, we got to adjust. I hate that, man. So it's not there right now. They have his other props, but they don't have his points prop up right now.
Anything you like regarding? He's not scoring. You'd have to look at the rebounding props for Wendell Carter. You mentioned Valanciunas before. I mean, getting the minutes. Larry Nance is hurt and he's out. And Valanciunas has actually doubled in 3 straight games. Is this someone, and you can attack Carter pretty easily, is this someone that you're looking at tonight, maybe on the PRs?
How many bets do you want me to make?
I want you to make like 50,000.
Okay.
That's fine.
I mean,
you have a bunch of free bets anyway.
Huh?
You always have a bunch of free bets up.
I do. It's from Bet 365 for the bonus signing up. $200 in free bets.
Do you need a promo code?
No, you don't.
Very nice.
Just go to fantasyalarm.com and there's probably a bunch of links in there. So let's see. Yeah, if you look at the special offers on the right-hand side of the page, let's see. Click on Bet365. There it is. Bet $1, get $200. Just click on it.
Wow. That's it, huh?
Yeah, click on it, sign up. You place a bet of $1 and you get $200 in free bets.
You're not going to get much better.
If you're a new registering first, you got to take that into account.
Of course. You ever bet anything regarding Bam? I mean, it's not with Bam tonight going up against Embiid. It's not the same as last year and previous years when attacking Embiid. I mean, they're going to need Bam to do that. Again, no Lowry on this team. I know that Hero's been banged up, but he's in. His point prop is at 19.5 Hero. Wow, seeing that -110, -120 on the under there. So, I mean, which of these 4 games are you most excited about? Is it Knicks Celtics?
I think so, yeah. Knicks have been playing very well.
A lot better, man.
Yeah, I mean, it has to be. I mean, Heat Sixers it's kind of boring, man. Oh, that's an NBA TV game too? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, it's not an exciting slate tonight from real NBA perspective, but there's some good props out there tonight. But yeah, Knicks Celtics definitely is the big game.
Knicks have won 8 of their last 10 on a 5-game win streak here. You want to think they're due, but they've been playing better overall defensively. And just seeing what this team has done in February, they have completely destroyed February. It's been absolutely incredible seeing them do what they've done. And I question this team's defense. It wasn't the same as it was a couple of years ago. But now, I mean, they beat the Pelicans, hold them to 106, hold the Wizards to 109, hold the Hawks to 101, the Nets to 106, the Jazz, then they give up, of course, 120 to them, holding Orlando to 98. I mean, I'm trying to think what's changed with this team besides Josh Hart, who's a hustler. And by the way, when he opts out of his contract, if I'm the Knicks, I do what I can to pay the guy. Give him a nice, steep 2-year deal. Give a player option out there afterwards to further lure him in there, because I don't see him opting in at $12.8 million. This is a guy that's worth more. And by the way, I actually in another show spoke yesterday before Damian Lillard went off for 71. I spoke to Portland Trailblazers play-by-play broadcaster Travis Demers about the situation in the trade, why they traded Josh Hart away, and the sole reason, and this was one that he said right away, it was the player option that he has in his contract after this year, and he's going to want a lot more money. And apparently the Blazers are ready to offer Jeremy Grant a hell of a lot of money. Jeremy Grant is all they have, Rowan, in the post right now, Portland. It's sad. Drew Eubanks hasn't really been getting it done. it's really Grant or bust at this point. They haven't had the services of Justice Winslow. Yusuf Nurkic is hurt. We don't know when we're going to see him. According to Travis, I talked to him. He said he was close to returning, but who the hell knows when it comes to that? He could be just lying, playing a little bit of a game. Anthony Simons is going to be missing the next number of games as well. I mean, it's going to be a lot of Damian Lillard. I tried to get a little cute. You and I both did with Shaedon Sharpe when his point prop was at 13.5. I believe it was a few days ago. And then he just wasn't shooting well. Oh, it was the day where they were having the travel issues. And then Damian Lillard gets ruled out. Jeremy Grant gets ruled out. And you're thinking, how does this not hit at 13.5 points? And, of course, it doesn't hit. And he shot like hell.
He didn't start either.
Yeah, which I was completely surprised about.
I think because they wanted a point guard in there.
Right. And, yeah, that's the problem right there. I mean, they were utilizing Ryan Arcidiacono.
That's why.
Yeah, because he can't run the point. I thought Shaedon Sharpe could run the point, but I guess he's really just a mid-court player and shooter there. He's Ronas. I'm Fensty. We'll continue talking about the NBA. Before we send you off to Ed Rouse, let's look at some futures here for tonight, or for actually months down the road, with the season end drawing near. We can look at some of the awards here, and then a little bit later on in the week, we will go over chances to win the conference, chances to win the division, chances to win the NBA Finals. But for now, let's focus it a little bit more on the players. We went over our top 10 before. Let's go over our top one. Number one for the MVP. We'll go over the latest odds here on Bettor Sports Network.
Monday Night Rants with Edward Rouse on Bettor Sports Network.
Do you believe in the Madden curse? Do you think that's a real thing?
I did. Now, I don't think it's as big of a deal anymore, but it was a real thing for a solid 10, 15 years.
Yeah, it was Sean Alexander, LaDainian Tomlinson, Peyton Hillis.
LT was never on the cover. I know that.
Was he not? I thought he was one. Okay, well, you do know all the covers of everything.
Yeah, okay. So if you want, I could do this real quick. So Garrison Hurst is the first official Madden cover athlete, 1999. 2000, I believe they still put John Madden on the cover. And then 2001 is where it all started. So 2001, you have Eddie George. 2002, Dante Culpepper. 2003, Marshall Falk. 04, Michael Vick. 05, Ray Lewis, first defensive player on the cover. Okay. 06, Donovan McNabb. 07, Sean Alexander. Okay. 08, Vince Young. 09, Brett Favre.
Okay.
10 is a trick one because it's
no way you know.
And Larry Fitzgerald. 11, Drew Brees. 12, Peyton Hillis. 13, Calvin Johnson, I believe so.
You're right.
14.
No way you know it.
14, also a trick question. I believe that's the Madden 25 cover, and it's Barry Sanders, unless you got it for the new consoles, in which case Adrian Peterson
was
on the cover.
You're not cheating. You're not looking at...
Swear on my life. Swear on my life.
Okay, keep on going.
15, you have Richard Sherman.
Okay.
16, hold on. 16 is Odell Beckham.
Okay.
16. 17, now this is the one I get mixed up because 17 and 18 are back-to-back Patriots.
They are.
17, I think, is Gronk, and 18 is Brady.
You are correct.
19 is Antonio Brown.
Correct.
20, Patrick Mahomes.
Oh my goodness.
21, Lamar Jackson. 22, Brady Mahomes. 23, John Madden. Yeah, dude, I'm a cover nerd when it comes to this stuff.
We now know, but that was really impressive. I don't know how.
Thank you.
That's literally 29 of them or something like that. Wow, that is. You did not miss a single one, and you even got the special editions where they had two people on the covers.
Monday Night Rants on Bettor Sports Network.
Welcome back to the Playbook on Bettor Sports Network. Want to remind all of you we'll be back tomorrow 5 p.m. Eastern, Fensty and the Roan Man. And also want to remind all of you that coming up right after us, it's your chance to rant about fantasy sports betting and more tonight on Monday Night Rants. Join Ed Rouse to talk about the NBA, college hoops, NFL free agency, NASCAR, the upcoming baseball season, and more. Monday Night Rants with Ed Rouse tonight, 7 Eastern, right after us on bettorsports.com and the Bettor Sports Network app. Quick piece of football news here. The Commanders releasing Carson Wentz. No surprise there. Been keeping track of the D.C. media as I live in the D.C., Maryland, Virginia area, and everybody was saying, Sam Howell, Sam Howell, Sam Howell. That's all that everybody's been talking about in this area here. So it's no shock, especially the cap hit as well. We'll have to see what the deal is with Aaron Rodgers here and some of these quarterbacks that we're going to be shuffling along. But we'll keep you up to date with the NFL too throughout these coming weeks before the NFL draft in a couple of months from now. But Roan, talking about some futures here, and we're going to start talking about this a little bit more because when looking at end of season awards, right now Nikola Jokic sits at minus 300 to win the MVP. Joel Embiid at plus 370, Giannis at plus 800. Do you think that it's undisputed right now because Nikola Jokic is averaging a triple-double? Denver is the best team in the West, and it makes me wonder, even if Phoenix starts shooting up the standings, which, let's be real, they should, if Denver gets unseeded and becomes, let's say, the 2 seed in the West, do you think that takes away from Jokic at all when it comes to this MVP?
No. I mean, the odds are telling you that anyway. Like, it keeps going up. It was minus 250 last week. So, I mean, Phoenix is 10 games behind them. How are they going to catch them?
They're not going to catch them. They're not. I don't think they're not going to go on. Denver's not going to go on any kind of losing streak or anything like that. And I don't see how you give the – I mean, even we've talked about voter bias and everything. I don't see how Nikola Jokic doesn't deserve this award at this point.
They did that straw poll last week or around the All-Star break, and that's why Jokic is odd shot up because most of them said Jokic was who they would pick as MVP. So
yeah, he deserves it, man. Deserves it. He's Mr. Triple-Double. Just such an excellent passer, man. And I don't know why people want to take shots at him when they do. But he needs a ring. That's their big thing. That's what separates. When I talk to people, they're like, really, Jokic? Yes, really, Jokic. Jokic can do just about everything. He can bring the ball up like a point guard. I was always fond of that of Bam Adebayo. This guy does it better. And he's an excellent driver. They don't need Jamal Murray to be a natural point guard. They don't need him to be that. And it's better that he's not attacking all the time because it'll preserve his body. They need Jamal Murray in there. They've been suffering from Aaron Gordon being out with a rib contusion. But still, this team needs Jamal Murray if they're going to go on a serious run. And having him sit there at the arc is much better than having him to try to do something stupid and then get re-injured.
Oh, another prop that I didn't mention. I'm surprised you're not on this one tonight. Mitchell Robinson, over 8.5 rebounds.
Oh, that is pretty low. That is.
Minus 120 on DK. He's had 12 and 13 since he's come back in 28 minutes. So we know how the Celtics are against centers rebounding.
Yeah, I mean, I was wondering, he can outduel Robert Williams in the post or any kind of position. He's a big guy. And yeah, that you know what? These numbers on him are only going to go up more. Are you locking that in?
I like it.
You're not looking at anything Randall related tonight, are you?
I don't think so. The dude is on fire, man. I mean, you didn't want to do that.
I did
the boost for the 3-pointers, and it was Randall, LaMelo Ball, and Paul George 8 threes or more.
Dude, I was the schmuck that had double for Randall.
I did too that night.
2 rebounds, Rodis.
Yeah, but you made the mistake of doing 2 parlays involving him both.
I did.
I just did 1.
I did 2,
and the other 2 hit. But yeah, that was fun because Randall had 6 threes. And LaMelo had more than 3, so didn't even need Paul George for the late game. That cashed pretty quick.
Yeah, you made sure to message me about that to see.
I mean, because you didn't want to jump in.
Dude, I got to keep myself a little disciplined until I hit some of these 2-leggers before I go with the 3. But, I mean, you and I talked about it. I liked it. But until I hit more of these 2-leg parlays, I'm not advancing the 3 just yet.
I mean, yeah, I have 3 bets in. I can't get this damn Ingram on BetMGM, bro. They took it down. I want to see what the juice is before I bet it on another book.
Yeah, I don't understand.
It was minus 105 there, but they obviously saw that it was minus 130 minus 135 on other books, so they're probably trying to recalculate right now. And I still do not see it
what
up.
happened to this team, man?
Who?
The Pelicans. I mean, I know Zion being out,
Yeah, I think that hurt. There must be something else going on there too, because they've just fallen apart. I mean, they kind of look listless against the Knicks.
It's been a complete free fall for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what, and I was liking.
I mean, there's a chance they don't get in the playing game at this point.
Weird, man. It's weird to think about. I mean, I didn't think that this team was going to be built for a title run anyway, but they were playing so well to start the season. Zion goes down. Just a hard guy to build around. Very hard guy to build around. And he can't stay healthy at the end of the day. Good when he's on the court. He's a banger.
You're not going back to Markelle Fultz tonight?
We haven't talked about it. We haven't talked about it just yet. I don't know, man. I'm probably right now, I have 3 bets in. I have my
3.
LaMelo Ball rebounds and assists. I'm going the over on that. I've got your Mark Williams over rebound prop that makes a lot of sense. And then I got the Derek White easy way out prop that you said, the over 3.5 assists, which watch, that's the bet that's not going to hit.
I mean, to me, it makes sense.
It's a low number. It should hit. It absolutely should. But those are the 3 bets that I have in right now. So how many? So wait, you have just 3 in?
3, yeah. I mean, there's a lot that I like, but I'm not going to bet all of it, man.
Nice. The Magic tonight are going to be starting Fultz, Harris, Wagner, Banchero, Carter. No surprises there. You've got the Sixers, Harden, Melton, Harris, Tucker, and Bede on that front. Already seeing, by the way, some injury notes here. You know, we might have a return here. Finally, guys missed 20 games. Kevin Porter. Bro, I do the injury report on fantasyalarm.com. There has been such little information regarding this guy's health. The reports have just started coming out in the last couple of days here, so we can finally see him make his return here. And other injuries, yeah, we're seeing Russell's doubtful. There's going to be some value in DFS for some guards here. Might have to bring on one of our boys. We're actually going to be talking tomorrow with Ray Kuhn. You ever talk with Ray Kuhn? You know who he is?
I do, yeah. I think I did at one point.
Yeah, he's going to stop by tomorrow to talk a little fantasy baseball strategy with us. Maybe we can burn him with a few questions as well. With no Kyle Lowry, Gabe Vincent, who I thought would be taking advantage of this opportunity, he really hasn't, especially on the production end. He's going to be starting the backcourt with Tyler Hero, Jimmy Butler, Kevin Love, Bam Adebayo. I've been asked a zillion times about Love's waiver wire value, whether or not it's worth picking him up. And to me, can he handle a lot of minutes, consecutive nights? Can he handle a lot of minutes just in general? Or are they going to have to streamline him? I've been telling people no, man, and picking him up, or just be careful on dropping a more established player. But I don't know, man. I'm starting to kind of turn a little bit because you know what Bam can do, and he complements Bam nicely if he's just going to be camping out at the arc the entire time.
Yeah, I think he's fine if he's going to get the minutes. I think he could be productive for them.
Yeah. We talked about this with the Hornets. No PJ Washington tonight here. You mentioned Hayward.
Is he officially out?
Yeah, he's out.
All right. Could put him in my IR then once they put him on that.
Yeah, you versus me this week, man. With you as the
You're
one.
excited?
I mean, I'm not excited because I'm not going to make the playoffs once again in your league. Kind of pissed off, actually.
That's 0 for 3?
I know, man. It's 0 for 3.
God.
I'm kind of pissed about that, actually. I really wanted to get into the playoffs. I thought I had a very nice draft. Nope, I did not. The issues that I faced the last 2 years, and next year I got to think about this a little bit more, is risking an early draft pick, meaning a first-round pick on someone who's notorious for getting injured. And unfortunately for me, the signs were there with LaMelo Ball. I still ignored them because of the stupid, loose reporting in Charlotte. Oh, the ankle injury. He'll be fine. He'll miss maybe a week or two into the season. And he's missed a lot more than that. And these rosters, by the way, that we have in this league, very deep here. So a lot of it does come down to your draft, man. I have not been able to crack the code when making the playoffs. You're first place every year. Spill the secrets, man. What do you do that I don't do? Because I've been very active on the waiver wire.
I have a better draft than you.
I guess so. That's got to be the only reason. You're I think you've been the 1 seed every single year since I've entered this league. And I don't know what else.
Did I win both years?
Yes, you have.
I did.
You're going to win this year too.
I don't know, man. You know how it is, man. My team's good, but there's the other 3 teams are good. And it comes down to, it's one given week, man. If they have more games played than me or better matchups, or I get a couple injuries, it's tough, man. They still don't have Brandon Ingram's points, bro. Like, yo, what is going on BetMGM? Yo, it's ridiculous. I logged out several times because it's minus 135 on Bet365, and I think it's also minus 135 on. No, it's minus 125 on DraftKings at 25.5. Maybe I'll just get it now instead of waiting.
Here's a thought: since you have Kelly Oubre on your team. Where's my Kelly Oubre point prop? Why is it not out? Okay,
he's coming off the bench.
It just came out. 15.5 at minus 125.
Don't you feel better about Hayward? 1 point more.
Yeah, I'd feel better if the odds weren't as juicy and the number was a little bit lower and he didn't just come back. So to answer your question, yes, I feel a little bit better.
So I did 4 bets today.
Oh, what'd you end up doing for the 4th bet?
Ingram over 25.5, Williams over 9.5, Tatum over 31.5, and Derek White over 21.5 points and assists.
Dude, let's make that magic happen, man. We got it. I mean, you're the Ingram guy, so you would know. And I don't. By the way, if a prop doesn't hit, yeah, it sucks, and you know it is a loss, and it feels like a loss. But when you see a player getting the shot volume, man, you can't fully blame yourself.
Yeah, that
cold nights.
Yeah, look, if a guy's taking 22 shots, man, like you're like, okay, it was a good bet. He had a poor shooting night. That's going to happen. He shot 31%. So those are the ones I don't get upset about. I get upset more at
your parlays that missed by 1 leg and 1 point.
Yeah, Kuzma, man, 18. You can't score 18 points with no Porzingis. He gets 10.
I don't get that.
Damn, should I play the Embiid under?
Here we go.
I'm gonna stop.
Slate
4 bets on a 4-game slate is kind of a lot.
You asked me, you're like, how many bets you want me to make? And then you're slowly starting to add an uptick in bets.
I think Embiid does not have a big night.
Listen, we'll have to see, man. Well, see, you and I are going to be riding together a lot tonight, man. I like the bets that you place. I actually did place a 4-2. I placed the Ingram bet too. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, the problem is such a short slate, and let's see, we got 2 games at 7. Oh, I didn't do LaMelo. Should I do LaMelo?
The rebounds and assists?
Yeah, man, he's been so good.
Hey, man, I'm on it again. Until it fails again, I'm on it.
I got 3 minutes to bet, and I have to go get coffee too.
You don't need coffee. You're very energized today.
Nah, I am. I'm feeling good, but man, I got another show to do, and I got transactional content. Do it 9 a.m., bro.
Dude, I've got that too. Wednesday at 9 a.m., bro.
You know I gotta get it done
like
tonight.
you up till 5 in the morning doing it, man.
Nah, it's getting done tonight.
We thank our producers, Will Shuddy and Anthony Rivera. Good job, Anthony, regarding previewing the Mets with us. For Adam Ronis, I'm Justin Benson. The playbook is closing. Ed Rouse coming up next for Monday Night Rants here. We will be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern, same time, same place. Let's win here on Bettor Sports Network. Good night.